What's up guys, Nathan here. Today I want to do more of a live action, almost Kriparian styled video today.
Hey guys, how's it going? Kriparian here.
And that's because most of my videos are very factual and I can just sort of spend a day researching, a day writing, and then a day recording my voiceovers. But this is more of a opinion-based topic. So I wanted to try to do something that's easier for me and then also more fun for you guys to almost have a dialogue with me, hopefully in the comment section below. So today, we're going to be talking about trade. As most of you probably know, trade is a very hot topic right now. The main reason for that, I think, is that the developers have a very firm stance on how they want trade to be, whereas the players are kind of just all over the place. We have new players who are coming in who have played games with actually functional and convenient auction houses like World of Warcraft and Diablo. They come over here, they see how fun the game is mechanically, they're picking up items, they're killing mobs, and then they go to like make a trade with another player and their mind is just blown by how overly convoluted, clunky, and just bad the trade system is in this game. And like I said, since the developers have such a rigid, firm view on what they want trade to be, this kind of creates like a butting head scenario between the players that think trade is absolutely horrible and then the developers and maybe the more of the OG experienced players that think trade is either good or in a serviceable place. So because this is a bit of a longer video, I'm going to do a quick summary of what the video is going to consist of so you can sort of skip around. And I'm also going to, of course, put the timestamps in the comment section below so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me for 20 plus minutes or however long this ends up being. First of all, I'm going to talk about my experience and play style so you guys can get an idea of who is talking to you right now so you don't think I'm either some insane standard player who plays 12 hours a day or some ultra casual who only has like 30 minutes a day to play, you know, maybe after work. 4 nights a week. Then I'm going to talk about my opinions on trade so you can just hear what I think about the matter, and hopefully I can also talk about some of the opinions I've heard from other players. Then we're going to go over the trade manifesto, and we're just going to do a little overview / analysis of GGG's opinion so we can get an idea of where they're coming from in relation to trade. And last but not least, I'm going to try to offer some solutions to maybe some of the potential problems that crop up in my opinions and the opinions of other players versus the opinions of GGG. So first of all, let's jump into a little bit about me. First thing you should know about me is I actually have zero ARPG experience. I've played a shit ton of like economy-based MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, and Warframe. Those are the three big ones for me. But I've never played any ARPGs other than Path of Exile. So no Diablo 1, no Diablo 2, no Diablo 3, no Grim Dawn, no nothing at all. So if that means something to you, I mean, you can just move on, I guess. You don't need to keep listening to me talk. But if that doesn't mean anything to you, here's another bit about me. I'm also kind of casual as far as content creators go. I know some content creators need to stream 8 hours a day to sort of make their living. I'm a lot more casual. I play something like 50 to 60 hours a week at the start of a league. And then as the league tapers off, I kind of hit more of the 20, 30, almost 10 hours a week. So that's kind of a lot by normal human standards, but compared to content creators for this game, it's pretty casual. Also something to know, even though I don't play a ton, I'm also kind of casual in regards to how I play the game. A lot of these hyper-efficient content creators, for example, Cute Dog, he's my favorite example and one of my favorite streamers, is I don't actually play the game in a very high-end, min-maxy way. I will re-roll and probably play like 10 plus characters a league. I will really only set out to do the things that I want to do with a specific character, and then I'll re-roll. So for example, if I have a character and I just think it should kill Uber Elder, I'm going to kill Uber Elder with it, and then I'm going to move on. Or maybe, for example, if I have a character and I just want to speed map shape to tolls, which is one of my favorite strats, is something I'll just do that and then I'll move on. So I'm not constantly min-maxing and interacting with these like ultra high-end mechanics that you see a lot of streamers interact with. And then last but not least, I am very much not somebody who trades a lot. So I only trade as much as I need to like progress my Atlas, finish gearing out a character, convert currency to chaos, something that's more usable. Yeah, generally speaking, I just don't trade a lot. So I'm not somebody that really finds a lot of fun in flipping currency, doing faded uniques, just making little trades to try to increase my overall wealth. I only really increase my wealth as much as I need to do the content I want to do on the characters that are meant to do them. So in summary, I'd like to think of myself kind of like an ultra budget shit tier Mathel. I roll a lot of characters, I do the content I want to do on those characters, and I'm also mechanically bad at the game, unlike the high budget legitimate Mathel. But I don't know. It was just the best comparison I could come up with. Okay, so time for the meat of the video, which is going to be my opinions on trade. First of all, right out of the gate, compared to literally any other economy-based MMO game type thing, trade in Path of Exile feels like trash. Whether you think it's good for the overall health of the game, the long-term health of the game, or any beneficial ideals or concepts, it's impossible to deny that trading in this game feels bad and is unfun compared to other games. The primary reason for that, and I think most people can agree with this, is that people just don't have to respond to their listings. This creates a plethora of other problems that I'll get to in a second, but just the fact that people can list an item for a certain price and then go on to either not respond, choose not to sell it to somebody, or, just change the price when you message them, all of those things basically makes trading hell. One of the first examples of the detriments that come along with people not having to respond are price fixers. Now, I really hate having to deal with price fixers. A good example of how this would work out is, say somebody buys a unique that's worth like 5 exalts, they list it for 4 exalts, and then you whisper them. Of course, they don't respond because they're fixing the price. And then you have little Johnny who comes along, he gets the drop. He's like, oh, this thing is worth 4 exalts, because he just sees the price fixer at the top of the list. He lists it for 4 exalts, the price fixer instantly buys it, relists it for 5 exalts, and then the process repeats itself. Then you also have the currency, map, and frag trading, which basically, if you're trying to buy a small, bulk amount of any of the following things I just mentioned, it's going to be difficult. If you want to buy a very specific, rare, corrupted tier 11 map 6 weeks into the league, it's not going to happen. There's a very small chance that people will actually be responding to these kinds of trades. So it's not uncommon to have to message up to 10 people to get a map or maybe a small amount of currency. PoE Ninja bulk map trade, as well as PoE Map.live have really helped with this. But especially in the case of PoE Ninja, bulk trading is really always going to win out. And if you want to do things efficiently, you're just going to have to wait until you need or you have a large bulk of things before you start engaging with trading in a meaningful and efficient way. And I think the saddest part of really all of this is the only way to solve the fact that players don't have to respond to their listings is to introduce bots. And it's kind of sad that on the surface, I think most people appreciate bots because bots are responsive, they have massive stocks, they're really fucking fast at trading, they can literally put in all of the currencies faster than you can even blink. And I think it's very frustrating that real players have to compete with bots only because bots are so much more efficient than real players. And I understand GGG can start stamping them out, but then that's frustrating to people that just want to make small trades and kind of rely on bots to actually get those trades in. So yeah, bots are kind of a mixed bag, but it really says a lot about the state of trading that super hyper efficient bots are required to make trading in small quantities actually a bearable experience. So for all the shitting on the current trade system, there are actually some benefits, and I want to go into them now, just so you guys don't think I only have this hyper negative view of trading, because as many problems it has, it still has some cool stuff going on. For example, player interaction, contrary to what people meme about, is 100% a thing, and it is kind of fun. So, for example, in my last video, I made, or not my last video, a couple of videos ago, I made this video about this dancing duo Scion, and of course I listed my gear eventually because I didn't want to play the build anymore. And then this guy comes, and he's playing a Scion, he's holding the dancing dervish, he loads into my hideout, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Are you playing this build by me, whatever, on YouTube? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, I made that. And then it's just kind of a fun conversation, and of course I gave him the flasks for free because I don't want to be, that guy that tries to make money off his own builds. But that's just kind of a unique interaction, and you wouldn't have that in any other game. And of course, non-content creators wouldn't have that, period. But it's still kind of just a cool thing. And then also, you message somebody and they're not responding because it's too cheap. You're trying to buy a 1 chaos ring, and then you say something funny I'll give you 1 chance, 1 chisel, and a vol orb, and then they say something funny back. And, you end up buying the item because of that. Those little things, they're kind of fun. They happen maybe 1 in every 10 trades. I don't think they're really worth not having an auction house, but I'm not going to lie. They definitely give the trading experience a little bit of personality. Another benefit to shitty and slow... Sorry, shitty. Are we using shitty? Are we already going there? Yeah. Shitty and slow trading would be better profit margins. And this has to do with the fact that people just don't want to deal with trading. So if there's items, I think a good example is Bubonic Trail, items that are kind of good for some builds, but still there's a lot of them, so they're really only a 1 chaos unique. I promise you, if easy trading was a thing and everybody could just instantly list their bubonics without having to like go into a dump tab and then sorting through the dump tab and then eventually pricing that at 1 chaos, I promise you that would drop down to a 1 alch unique, and everybody who drops a bubonics would not be getting the same profit margin. So you win some, you lose some. I think overall it does not really a huge deal. But yeah, having bigger profit margins is definitely a little bit more fun because you just get to make a little bit more money overall. The last benefit I have for you is a slower progression. Now, this is, again, you may not consider this a benefit. I think it's kind of a benefit, but slower progression means people who can be killing Shaper in the first day of the league. These are the same kind of people who can rush through the game and have their Atlas completed in the first couple of days. I promise you, the time it takes them, no matter how quick it is, that would probably be cut in half if they had access to easy, almost instant trades. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't like that a league starts feeling stale after 2 weeks, I can promise you it would feel stale a lot faster with an auction house. And that's not personally an issue for me, but it could be seen as a benefit if you really like leagues to stay as fresh as possible for as long as possible. Okay, so for the next bit here, we're going to talk about the trade manifesto. Let me just pull this up here. And we're just going to go through systematically, I think. Let me pull up my notes. We're going to go through systematically, and we're going to take a look at the big pointers. You can, of course, go through and read the more detailed notes if you want. But we're going to just focus on the big pointers, stuff that's underlined or bolded, and we're going to pick it apart and sort of analyze why GGG feels the way they feel. So the first thing to note, this is one of their first big pointers here, is items matter, period, trade is important, period, in bold. And this seems like a no-brainer, I'm sure, to most of you guys, but it's really important to realize this is key. Saying that trade is important means that the current state of trade is at the very least acceptable to GGG, which means as much as we complain about trade and maybe we feel like they phone it in or they don't have the resources to fix it, it's none of that. If they really, really wanted to change trade, they would absolutely do it. But the way they see the game right now is at the very least satisfactory. So yeah, trade is important, and the fact that trade is shitty and difficult and clunky is intentional and important. But let's keep picking apart why that is. The very first point here that's underlined underneath consequences of easy trade is easy trade reduces the number of times a character improves their items. Now, out of all the things in this manifesto here, I'm sorry to say, Chris, this is absolutely something I disagree with. Maybe I don't play the game the same way other people do, and I don't know, I could be wrong on that. But if I were to be, level 92, looking to min-max my character, make changes to my items, just the fact that it's so unfun to sort of slog through the trade site only to know there's a high chance people aren't going to respond to things you're trying to buy just makes me not want to make upgrades to my character, further improve, min-max, create variations, weapon swaps, stuff like that. I'm less likely to do it because trading is such a pain. So I don't know if this is something you guys agree with. Of course, leave me a comment and let me know. But I feel like if trading was easier, I would improve my items all the damn time. I would play my characters more. I probably would only play 5 characters a league because I wouldn't constantly feel like, oh, I want to re-roll because I don't feel like dealing with min-maxing and continuing to progress my character anymore. So I'm sorry about that, but this one I completely disagree with. The second point here we have is easy trade means reducing drop rates. Now, this is actually on the polar opposite end of the spectrum for me, which is, yes, absolutely. If trade is going to be ultra easy, then there needs to be less shit dropping on the ground. And I think regardless of whether trade is made more easy, less shit needs to drop on the ground. We're at a place right now where efficient players will hide 99%. I want to say 99.9, but I don't want to, overshoot my estimation here. But 99% of items that drop should be hidden on a good, fast loot filter. And if we're at a place where 99% of items need to be hidden, then there's clearly some kind of saturation of items. Maybe it means that there's too many shitty bases dropping. Maybe it means that there's too many low currencies dropping in maps. Maybe it means uniques are just garbage in general and there needs to be a bigger rebalance. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think Chris is absolutely right. If trade gets easier, drop rates need to be reduced. And even if trade doesn't get easier, I still think drop rates need to be reduced or at least rebalanced. But not for maps. Please do not nerf map drop rates. That is the one thing I would lose my fucking mind if that got blatantly nerfed. Okay, the third point we have here is easy trade would make the disparity between different players too great. This is one I'm not 100% sure on. I see where Chris is coming from because it's kind of the idea that players that are at the top end would be even better at min-maxing and making their characters that much better. But the truth of the matter is they already reached such a high, crazy fucking top of the mountain compared to like these low players. And I deal with new players all the time in my Discord, and I don't know what to say. I mean, it's hard to believe there could be even a bigger difference than the valley of new players in between like super experienced players at the very peak of these skill mountains almost, because they don't even let alone know how to start browsing the trade websites, whether or not they could actually go and complete the trade successfully or not. So it's hard to believe it could actually get worse. That being said, I could see it actually getting better. Because if I'm a new player and I want to experiment with different items, knowing that all I have to do is hit buy out next to an item I want to try, I mean, that's enough of a selling point for me right there as a new player. I'm like willing to experiment. I'm willing to improve faster. I'm willing to progress my character. So yeah, I'm going to have to say I disagree with this one. I think easy trade would actually make the disparity between different player levels a little bit smaller, hopefully. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so the last big pointer here as to what the consequences of easy trade are is easy trade allows for greater abuse of automation. In layman's terms, easy trade is really good for bots. Basically, I think the idea behind my opinion on this one is that it is actually pretty hard to say. Chris seems to be pretty adamant that bots will take advantage of easy trade, and I think he has a point. It's very possible, but at the same time, like, so will humans. And at the end of the day, I think we kind of just have to test this. Maybe we have to run some kind of potentially voided league that has an awesome auction house built in that players can start using and just see how bots run with it, or maybe even make it non-voided, because unless the fucking shit that's dropping in the league is absolutely insane, there's a very small chance that a 1 month non-voided temp league is going to really make such a huge splash in standard just because bots have access to an auction house. And moving on here, there's not a ton left in the trade manifesto. They do talk about, this is kind of interesting to me, is trade sites like PoE.trade were not actually intentional from the start. They were actually just the result of GGG giving people the ability to link their items on the forums, and then bots being able to scrape the forums and then index all of those items into a trade site. And I think that's interesting. And to GGG's credit, even though they didn't intend for trading to ever be as easy as it is now, they rolled with those punches. They came up with premium tabs. They created an official trade website to make it easier and more secure for people to interact with those newly popular indexing methods. So, a little round of applause for GGG for rolling with those punches and coming up with the tools that we have today to trade. Okay, so time for the last part of the video, and this is where I want to offer some solutions, because obviously my opinions on what trade is and what trade can be is definitely different from what GGG feels their trade should be like. So let's talk about a couple of quick solutions. First of all, my main goal is I think trade should be less painful, and regardless of what you think, I think trade should be more fun and convenient and just easy to interact with for new players. But at the same time, I think a lot of what GGG is trying to do, the goals, their general opinions on trade being difficult to slow down character progression, and all the various other sort of tangential goals they managed to achieve off of that, I think that should be maintained as well. So whatever suggestions I suggest, I think it should try to keep in line with both of those objectives. My first suggestion is that the current trade website in all of its glory, PoE trade, forum indexing, pathofexile.com/trade, I think all of that should be kept intact, and everything I'm about to suggest should just be layered on top of it. So for people who want to go and do it the old-fashioned way for whatever reason, I think they should still be able to do that. So my first suggestion, which I hinted at early on, is I think they should just straight up add a convenient auction house. So something a la WoW's auction house. I think that's just the best example because it's so simple and cut and dry. You just type in the name of the item you want, you hit enter, you hit buyout, you can bid for it. So that's actually kind of interesting. Maybe we could do open bidding for really high-end items. That could actually be really interesting impact on the economy, because you could really see some items get up there in price, I would imagine. And then in turn, I think drop rates need to be nerfed, or at the very least heavily rebalanced, because like I said, we're at a place where so many items drop that are just not worth picking up. And I think these two changes, nerfing drop rates as well as adding an auction house, I think those would go hand in hand, and it would be just a really awesome overall change for the game. The second suggestion I have, which kind of goes hand in hand with this auction house idea, is limiting the amount of times you can trade per day via the auction house. Keep in mind, we're still layering this on top of the trade forums, so people who want to go and use the old-fashioned website, they can do that whenever the fuck they want. I think people who use the auction house, I think that should be a little bit limited, potentially to character progression. So the idea I had was maybe every 2 acts you complete, you get access to 1 more trade a day. So, 2 acts in, you have 1 trade, 4 acts in, you have 2 trades, and so on. By the time you kill Kitava, you have access to up to 5 trades per day. And then furthermore, for endgame mapping, maybe every time you complete a tier of maps completely, that should also give you access to another trade per day. So you're getting up to like about 20 trades per day by the end when everything's said and done, which I think is pretty good. Furthermore, I think you could also use the Zana quest line to gate progression, just because I think GGG seems to like that as a benchmark for endgame character progression. And lastly, I'm not sure about this one, but if 20 trades isn't enough, I think maybe letting people have unlimited trading after they've killed Uber Elder for the first time in a league, that might be actually a pretty cool idea, because that way people who are dedicated currency traders or people who want to just mess with the economy and play the auction house, they should have to put in the time before they're allowed to do that. I don't know if that's the correct way of looking at it. Maybe people will think that's too limiting, or maybe people think unlimited trading in general, having some players have access to that tool versus players who don't, maybe that's too strong. So I'm not 100% sure how they would gate those tokens, but this is an idea that came to me from somebody in my Discord named Purely Aesthetics, and he plays Warframe. I played Warframe in the past, and that's a game that has used these sort of account character progression, gated trading methods to great effect. So I think that's something we should look at, and it would be a really good way to let people use the auction house in a more controlled way that would also combat automation indirectly. Another suggestion I have that would sort of, again, layer on top of all of this would be to just have better in-game tutorials for trading. Now, I'm not really sure what in-game tutorials exist right now, because I've kind of pressed that skip button so many times. I don't know what things they've added most recently, but I'm almost certain that the tutorials that exist right now, and of course there would have to be new tutorials if any of my ideas were adopted, need to be improved. So if that means somebody has to spend like 10 minutes to watch a video that teaches them how to trade after Act 10 and it's required, I'm actually okay with that, because it's like very hard to impress upon people how important trading is if you're playing a trade league. Like you're kind of just going to live and die by using the trade site or potentially the auction house if something got added like that. And people, not only do they not understand how good and powerful and important trading is, but they're afraid to do it. They're afraid they're going to mess up the social conventions. They're afraid they're going to make a bad offer. They're afraid they're going to get scammed. They're afraid of just opening that can of worms because there's really nothing there teaching them how to do it. So just introducing some new trading tutorials that are kind of required or at least heavily pushed onto players, I think that would be a really cool addition, regardless of any of my suggestions being adopted or not. And to top this all off, I suggest, and I think I might have mentioned this earlier, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, I heavily suggest we try this out in a temporary league. So maybe 1 3-month league, or maybe we do like a flashback type thing. Like obviously flashback starts today, I imagine will be when you'll be watching this video. And that could be a really cool time for people to try this out. We just do like maybe a non-voided, or maybe a voided league actually, if you're like kind of afraid of the impact on standard economies. But you just do a little test. You see how it works. You see how the bots respond. You see if the players actually enjoy it as much as they think they're going to enjoy it. And if it doesn't work, just treat it like any other league content. Just throw it out. I mean, I understand that's a lot for me to ask as somebody who's not the developer, who doesn't have to actually put resources into this. But as a player, I can tell you I'm willing to test this brand new kind of crazy idea of having easy trade and maybe reduce drop rates in return, or maybe these trade tokens in return. I don't know. Like I said, A lot of ongoing discussion on this. Please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to try to be as interactive as possible. So in summary, there's really only 3 things I want you guys to take away from this video. 1, trade can and should be improved. It's no secret that trade can be a lot more enjoyable for every party involved, whether you're a high-end or low-end player, so I think GGG should prioritize improving it in some way or another. 2, a lot of people think GGG's trade manifesto basically is this sort of Bible that's telling them they're not allowed to make easy trade, and I understand that it definitely is conducive towards having those kinds of views, but no, I think you can still maintain GGG's trade manifesto, stay in the lines of that, while also making improvements. So that's also the second thing we need to remember. And the third thing I try to remember from this video is there's no reason why these need to be permanent solutions. These can easily be tested out in like a 1 month, 3 month, voided, non-voided, just some kind of temporary league. And I think people need to realize there's nothing wrong with trying new things. I mean, synthesis was a brand new thing, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that I'm kind of glad it's not getting added to the base game in its current form. And that's exactly what I'd be willing to take on with an auction house, maybe a potentially new, weird system that might not be perfect, but it still would be something that would be experimental, and I think a lot of players would be receptive towards trying new things. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. This has been Nathan. Please leave a comment below. I'm going to try to be a little bit more active than usual. And regardless, I'll see you next week, and good luck in Flashback.
What's up, guys? Thanks for waiting to the end of the video. I want to thank my Patreon supporters, so thank you so much, Real Human, Pete, Zikrak, Squally, Zoljan, Coda, Julia, Alan, Keplerk, Fusk, Putzak, and Ordo or Ori. Thank you guys so much. You've been making what I do possible for a full month now. Well, longer for most of you, but now since YouTube is a big income for me, it really means a lot. You guys are making up a solid percentage. Also, if anyone else is interested in joining the Patreon team, family, whatever group you want to call it, you can check me out at patreon.com/NathanBrotherBob. You also have my Instagram there in the bottom left-hand corner. My girlfriend's been trying to keep that up to date. I don't know if she's been doing a great job, but hopefully she'll get a little better at it. I don't know. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Lauren. That's at Nathan Walker YT. And then you can also join the Discord right there in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm not going to try to say that, but that's where both Patreon and not Patreon people hang out right now, and it's a good time. So check it out. Thanks again, guys. See you next week.